Hello, my good friends. Green Chair Answer Day. I'm David Burns. Good to be with you under the porch today because it is windy and rainy. Wow, the hurricane has made its way up into central U.S. So getting a little bit of wind and rain. Hope everybody is safe that was in the path of the hurricane. Good to be with you today. I always like to sit down raw and unedited every Friday to answer a lot of the questions that show up on my YouTube channel and a lot of the questions left over from the Thursday night live stream. Now, to be honest with you, I don't always get to all the questions because there are so many, and I'm just one teeny tiny little guy. And there's thousands of you asking hundreds of questions a week. But hey, I'm one guy working hard for you, doing the best I can. So don't hate on me if I can't get to your question. Sometimes I answered the question and you just missed it, or I recently made a video on your question and you need to jump back in some of my past videos and take a look. So let's jump right into the question today. We'll start with Rick that says, hey, David, instead of 2-to-1, now that means 2 parts sugar to 1 part water. Instead of 2-to-1, I've started feeding my bees 1-to-1 with the additives that you recommend. I've read where a bit of bleach is in the additive, quarter teaspoon per gallon helps reduce virus loads. Your thoughts? I don't have any proof of that. I don't have any scientific data that would show that. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I know a lot of beekeepers do add bleach, Clorox or bleach to their sugar water, just a teeny tiny bit to keep it from molding. If the bees don't eat it right away, it kind of makes some mildew around the jar. Personally, not a big fan of adding bleach to what I'm going to feed my bees. I know we have Clorox or bleach in our own water. That's how most, municipalities keep their water clean and sanitized. But it's going to be your call. um, Lost my bees this past winter. Oh, sorry to hear that. Was devastated, but found your channel and are more confident this time around. Bees moved into a catch box 2 days ago. How long before I can inspect? A couple of things about this. If your if if your bees swarmed into a swarm trap or a catch box, it means that your bees are half the size now. That sounds like a late summer, early fall swarm, and your bees are going to struggle harder to make it through winter because they are reduced in half in population. Now, if you just caught a swarm out of the blue from somebody else's hive and you're trying to get that hive through the winter, it's going to be tough to get them through the winter because they don't have a lot of time to get ready, right? They have a lot of frames to draw out, maybe. They have a lot of they have a lot of food to get stored in there. So, how long before I can inspect? I would say after a week. Let them settle down a little bit because you're probably transferring them into their new location. Wait about a week. I would feed them and try to get them built up before winter. I'll try to, I've got a little button. I say this is raw and unedited, but I've got a little button on my editing software. I use Final Cut Pro on my Apple Studio computer, and I have a little button I can click on that will get rid of all this wind noise. But on the other hand, if I listen to it and it's just part of the day, part of the unedited raw video, I'll leave it in there. But if it's too distracting, I'll click that button and make my voice sound a lot better. All right, Daniel, is there any reason why a virgin queen would not take a mating flight? My colonies are still producing drones, so I figure other colonies are also, but it's been over 2 weeks and no eggs. Oh, good question. Yeah, if the weather's bad, if it's cooler, if it's rainy, the queen can't get out and fly on a nice day, that's a primary reason. Otherwise, no, not really. Sometimes there's just a virgin queen that won't do it. I mean, it's just like everything else, right? Sometimes that happens. But I'd definitely wait about another week, give her a little bit more time. It does take a little time for her to get mated and for her to start laying. So keep an eye on it. Get back in there and take a look. David, I have 2 winter bee kinds left over from last year. There's some there's some small mold spots on the candy. Do you think it's okay to feed them to the bees this year with the mold spots. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to say is accurate, but I don't think that will hurt the bees. But since I'm not sure, I personally wouldn't do it. I would rather give them fresh food than eat something moldy. One time, my mom made a sandwich for me back in the old days in the 60s, and I ate the sandwich and it had a funny taste to it. And as I got to looking, one side of the sandwich, the bread had all that green bread mold on it. And I was a little kid, so I didn't think anything of it. I said, "Hey, Mom, I'm from the South," so I called my mom Mother. And I also said, "Yes, ma'am," and "Yes, sir." I was raised that way to my dad. If my dad said, "David," I would say, "Yes, sir," like in the military. If my mom said something, I would answer, "Yes, ma'am." I was raised that way. But anyway, I told my mom the bread tasted funny. She looked at it. "Oh my gosh, it's got mold all over it. Don't eat anymore." I didn't get sick. It didn't bother me or anything. So it may not bother the bees, but if you had a choice, mold or no mold, you would select no mold. So I don't think I'd want to feed that back to the bees, even though it may not be that bad of a deal. So I'm not sure on that one. Hey Holly, I have 2 frames with capped honey that I froze to spin out later. Didn't happen. Can I thaw them to room temperature and give them back to the bees? I'm in Maine. Yeah, you can do that. The best way to do it, Holly, is if you can actually put it back in their hive. If you've got space, maybe they have a frame that's not drawn out at all or doesn't have much on it, you can thaw it out and give the frame back full of honey to any colony really that will accept that frame. But if you don't have the space to do that, you might have to set it really far away, like 50 to 100 yards away from your hive to prevent robbing, and let the bees just go there. But that's only going to help the colonies that have a big foraging force. It won't help the small colonies that can't fly out and get to those frames. Johnny, good evening. Is it safe to leave a partially filled super on a hive if feeding with your winter be kind candy board in addition to the super? Okay, you know what? That's kind of one of those iffy things. Some things are okay, but they may not be the best scenario. So the best scenario is to have all of the honey super frames completely filled up, plus a winter be kind for if you're in a real cold climate like I'm in the north. That gives the bees more chance to have food when it's really cold. Partially filled supers, I'm not a big fan of that, even feeding my bees with the winter be kind. I like that super to be totally drawn out and filled up. So whether or not that's going to be okay for you, I don't hold the key to all knowledge, so I don't know. It may be fine, but if I have a choice, I'm going with totally filled up. Gigi, hello from Virginia. Hello. We're planning our first honey harvest this weekend. How much honey do we need to leave behind on them to eat this winter if we feed them your winter be kind recipe? Yeah, good thoughts on that. Hey, I just made a video. I'll leave a link in this right here. This video talks about how you decide, and I talk all about this. So I want you to watch this video, follow this link, and it will answer that question for you. I'll try to remember to leave a link in the description of this video. For those of you that are wondering, how do you figure out how much to leave on for winter? Yeah, I just made a video on that. Hey, James, will a hive swarm if the queen has one wing clipped? That's an old time practice that isn't practiced much anymore. We never are big fans of it anymore because if we clip one of the wings, the swarm will try to leave and they'll try to make the queen leave with them. The queen can't fly with a clipped wing. She crashes in the yard and she may not ever make it back to the hive. They may raise another queen. If there's an egg, they can raise one from, and then that queen will not be clipped and they'll swarm with her. So it's not the best practice on swarm prevention, in my humble opinion. Oh, Marianne Livingston. Hello, Marianne. What effect does high power lines and cell towers have on bees, if any? Now, this is a very, very controversial issue. One side of the fence will say all power lines or 5G cell phone towers are killing us all and it's just horrible. And the other side of the fence says, yeah, I don't know, probably doesn't bother me. So, you know what? I don't have any data to show me how bad 5G cell phone towers are, and I don't have any data to tell me how safe they are. I mean, I can read the data, right? I mean, you can do your research, but then there's other people that don't like the research. My dad was an electrician, and I would often talk to my dad about, how bad our power lines, how, if we are working around, like, I help my dad wire houses, and if we're wiring houses, working around electricity a lot, is that bad for us? His only response that I remember very clearly was, David, a lot worse for you to walk out into the sun than it is to be around power lines. I don't know. So the jury is out on that one, Marianne. I'm not going to make a statement on that because I really don't know for sure. I think we will know in maybe 100, 200, 300 years. We'll probably know more about it because a lot of this stuff is still new. I am a ham radio operator, amateur operator. So in other words, when you have to take a pretty extensive FCC test to get your license to operate on a ham radio. And a lot of the questions do have to do with, that kind of energy that's coming off your antenna, how close you can get to it, is it harmful for other people to be around your antenna, and all that. So the FCC has done extensive work on this, but some people don't trust the government. Some people don't trust the FCC's research. So, yeah, big time controversial question. How do newborn bees act after emerging? Look like robbing? Are they just making new flights for orientation? Oh, I see. You're talking about observing it from outside the hive, right? Yeah, when bees get ready to fly, kind of get to the age where they want to start flying, which is, let's see, after they emerge, it's about 23 days after they emerge, roughly. So, let's see if I did the math right on that. 19, yeah, 12, that's probably they emerge. See, after they emerge, huh? Yeah, they have a lot of household duties. So, yeah, 17, guarding, making wax on day 17. Yeah, about day 23, they'll start flying. Before they start flying, you'll see a lot of bees that will, I call it a play flight. It's kind of is an orientation flight. But about 3 in the afternoon, you'll see bees just looks like a swarm. I agree. I see it all the time. And it's kind of like, wow, what's going on? The key to that is there are more bees facing your hive than going away from it. That's the key. It's simple. I've observed that after my almost 30 years since I started beekeeping, that if I see a lot of bees hovering and facing the hive, that's not a swarm. A swarm is everybody leaving, they're facing away from the hive. It's like a fire inside the hive. They're trying to get out. That's what a swarm looks like. They're abandoning ship fast. All right. Amy, I've had terrible experiences with small hive beetles this year. Oh, sorry, that was me last year. Any tips beside traps to mitigate this for fall or next spring? Not really. If it was, I'd be a billionaire if I had a way to get rid of it, small hive beetle. But we had to be diligent in trapping with oil traps, Swiffer sheets, dryer sheets, whatever kind of way you like to get rid of small hive beetle. Everybody has come up with something that they make it sound like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. It's going to get rid of small hive beetle. But after a few years of doing it, we're still like, nope, not really. It helps, but it's not totally just, there's no magic bullet that you can put in a hive and no longer see small hive beetle. A lot of beekeepers are using grub X on the ground around the hives to kill any pupating. While the larvae go into the soil, they pupate as pupae, and then that grub X will kill them. And so, people are trying to, we are learning about new things to mitigate, as you said, the small hive beetle. But smashing with a hive tool, killing as many as you can, it still gets down to that old time trick of just smashing beetles. Sometimes you can try to keep mice out of your house, but boy, there's a good feeling just setting some traps around with some peanut butter on them and catching some mice and knowing that they're done, right? Smash and kill those small hive beetle. Hey, Ronnie. Hey, David. Have you ever tried adding spirulina to your feed. I heard about it and was wondering if anyone has tried it yet. Oh my gosh, everyone's tried spirulina. I think I've eaten spirulina. I've eaten spirulina that's made for bees. I love the flavor of it. It's like a candy bar. These beekeeping companies sell it for your bees, and you get some around me, I'm going to eat it because I like the flavor of it. It's sugar with spirulina in it. Does it work? Does it help your bees? I don't know. I haven't seen the data. I haven't seen the science behind it. I don't know for sure, but here's my answer on all of these things, like probiotics for bees, spirulina, things like that, seaweed, all these things for bees that are coming around. Bees only live 35 days or 40 days in the summer, so it's not like it's going to prevent cancer. They don't live long enough like we do. We have to watch what we eat. On the other hand, my take on it is if bees have a good way to go out naturally and get their natural food, like pollen from various sources and nectar from various sources, they're going to get all the things that they need to be a very healthy bee. Same with humans. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, but it makes sense in my mind, and it's my personal opinion, that rather than take vitamins and supplements, if I can get the vitamins and supplements that my body needs through really good food, that's probably what my body is designed to do. I know sometimes you can't always do that and you have to take vitamins. I get it, but that's my answer to spirulina. All right. I'm thinking of combining my hives. Should I leave the queens to fight it out? No, let's don't ever do that. No, please don't do that. Have you ever heard of two people getting in a fight and both of them wind up getting killed or, badly injured? That's what's going to happen if two queens fight it out. They'll sting each other. And if they sting each other enough, both of them can die in the fight. And then you're left queenless. So it'd be much better to evaluate which queen is better and do away with the one that is not as good as your best queen. That way you'll have a good queen in there and you'll know her characteristics. Ron says, how late should I feed 1-to-1 till I change to 2-to-1? Ron, watch my videos for decades. I have really promoted and preached feeding your bees 1-to-1 in the fall. I don't feed 2-to-1 anymore. I'm trying to stimulate my bees to raise a lot of brood in the fall by feeding them 1-to-1, simulating a spring nectar flow so the queen keeps laying, making bees that live 4 to 8 months. I've made a ton of videos here. Welcome to my channel, but you really need to watch those videos. Thanks for watching on Facebook, by the way. So I would just continue to feed 1-to-1 all the way until you use a winter feed like our winter bee kinds or a fondant or something. I recently started adding Honey Bee Healthy to my syrup. I was feeding plain 1-to-1 syrup before that. The bees didn't seem to like it very much. How much time do I give them to get used to it? Oh, I see. So I'm assuming they're not liking your Honey Bee Healthy. The trick for me on Honey Bee Healthy, I only use a little bit. I use a lot less than the label says. I use about half of what the label says, and my bees love it. So I don't know if that is the reason your bees aren't loving it. Some bees just have a different need at the time or different desire or something for what they're wanting to consume. But yeah, if they don't like it right away, they're probably not going to develop a liking to it. You might want to go back to 1-to-1 without it, or greatly reduce the Honey Bee Healthy half of usually I put about a teaspoon per quart, but you can back it down. And I'm not talking about a teaspoon out of your, that you use to stir your coffee. That teaspoon's a little bit bigger in volume than a real teaspoon is, but a real teaspoon is smaller. So go back to something a bit smaller, see if that helps. Good question. Fantastic farming. I'm glad you like farming. I'm glad you think it's fantastic. Beekeeping is farming, and it is fantastic. Hey, David, my bees swarmed recently, but I think I have a new queen. Do you think they will make it? Okay, the thinking makes me worried. If somebody says, I think I have a queen, that's like your pilot saying, I think I can land the plane. Or your surgeon saying, I think I can do this heart surgery on you. I mean, thinking scares us, right? When you say, In fact, I'm part of another sport, and we are not allowed if we're some. I can't really talk about this, but if we're part of the, I can't think of a good word. Let's say referee. You're familiar with that. If we're part of the, if we are a referee and we make a call, we can never say think. I think you did this. We have to be really certain. So this idea of you thinking you have a queen scares me. You need to know if you have a queen. Okay. So if you have a new queen and you caught a swarm, and I think you're asking, do you think they'll make it through winter? It's going to be hard. They have a lot of stuff to do before winter. And if you live anywhere around in the Midwest like I do, or the North, winters are long, cold, and hard. It's going to be tough. Not going to lie to you. They can do it, but it's going to be tough. So we don't know yet. Let me know in the spring how it works out. I have one hive with double deeps, and I want to know, when can I add undrawn super during spring? I live in Kentucky. I love Kentucky. So in the spring, you got 2 deeps. You're wondering, when can I add that super? You know what? I like to add that super about the time, and I guess you say it's undrawn. So if you add it too early, what's going to happen? The bees will be going up into it for the heat. The heat rises up in there, nothing to eat. Add it about the time that you start seeing the very first start of dandelions. That way it doesn't matter where you live, right? We don't have to go by a calendar. Walk outside, you start seeing dandelions popping up. I'd put that super on there because it won't be long that they'll be bringing in dandelion pollen and nectar. And that means that you've had dandelions, you've already had incoming nectar from some of your trees, like maple trees always happen before dandelions. Bingo, good answer. That was worth the whole green chair answer day for all of you wondering the same thing. That's a good thing for me to say. I usually say it in the beginning, but if you're watching my video and these questions you might think don't pertain to you, they will. If they don't pertain to you right now, all these questions, they'll hit you in the future. So you need to create some kind of database to write my answers down, and that way you can refer to them in the future. I'm giving out free information here. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Good opportunity to let you guys know. I really appreciate you watching. I love you guys. We got a lot more questions, but please subscribe. One of the things that helps me a lot in my YouTube algorithm is by leaving me a thumbs up. Just going right down there, clicking, oh, thumbs up. And then also leaving a comment is huge. When you leave a comment, it can be hello, it can be I like your orange shirt, I like your orange glasses. Some people leave comments saying I talk too fast, others say I talk too slow. I'm not going to change my speech if you leave those kind of comments, but leave a comment. It helps me a lot. So leave a comment, and one of the things I love is subscribers. So if you want to pat me on the back for working hard for you guys, please subscribe. All right, let's get back in here, answer some more questions. Yeah, Gary, why do you wait a month between jar and feeder board? So I'll feed my bees 1-to-1 sugar water in the fall, and then I wait about a month before I start giving them my winter bee kinds. Because my bees, the winter bee kind stimulates them to raise bees in winter physiology, right? And the winter bee kinds, ever since I started making my winter bee kinds, 2 decades ago or something, those I've always referred to as insurance. Those are winter insurance boards. I feel that my bees have enough on board for themselves of their own honey most of the time. Sometimes my hives don't, and I overwinter them just on the winter bee kinds, but most of them have a honey super. They have honey in the brood box area, so forth. A little bit of honey down there. So I don't have to continue to give them feed every single week. So sometimes I can stop feeding, let's say maybe in November or December, and I may not drop winter bee kinds on there, the hard candy, until the 1st of January. Because the bees are going to die in the middle to late winter if they don't have any food. So they can go a little while on their own food. And also one cool note, in case you didn't know this, it's really windy. Bees of winter physiology have biatellogenesis in their body, in their fat bodies. So in other words, they have the biatellogenesis, it's the storage of proteins, resources in the bees' own fat bodies. Now, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Fat bodies is not like fat cells on humans. That's not what fat bodies are on bees. And don't get this confused. Fat bodies in the head and abdomen of bees are not what I'm not saying fat bees. Some people misunderstand that. They think fat bees are healthier. No, it's not fat bees. It's bees that have this vitellogenesis, this storage of resources in their own reservoirs inside their bodies. All right. So bees of winter physiology have more fat bodies. That's why they can live off their resources, not because they're fat. That's how humans view it, but because of these reservoirs of protein that are in the bees of winter physiology. Yeah, that's cool, isn't it? All right. All right, we're plunging away here. Have you tried peppermint starlight mints to control small hive beetle? Uh, no, I've never tried that. I have heard it. I think there's, if you want to do it, try it. It may work for you, but I've tried other things that work just as good. Why do my bees build in the middle but don't go for the sides? That's a good question. Bees always go chimney up the middle. That's just how they build comb in the natural habitat. They keep adding comb. They build one, they add the next ones to it. That's just what they're instinctively prone to do. That's why we only start bees on one box, so they'll be forced to use those until we put a second box on. I've got a lot more questions to go. I said this is raw and unedited, but I have to go pick up Christian from school. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm not going to edit it. Got to pause, pick him up. I'll be right back. All right, back from picking up Christian. Jump right back into it now. Some of you may have watched Christian grow up over the years if you've watched my channel. I've been on YouTube in beekeeping since 2008. And so you've probably had a chance to watch Christian grow up in some of those early videos, but he's 17 now. That's amazing, isn't it? All right, let's see. Some of you love donations, and I appreciate that. My team didn't really tell me, but I think I'm going to put some donations up here. We usually show them during our live stream, but we can't always show all of them all the time. I'm gonna put some of those up here. Since they appear here, it's like my team is telling me to show the donations. So I'll be putting some of those up because we didn't get a chance to thank you last night during the live stream. Okay, now, yep, let's go with the next question. Hey, David, I thought I had a queenless hive, ordered a queen, now have a new queen in hive and the ordered queen. Let's see, bug hive. That must mean big hive because the I and the U are next to each other on the keyboard. Big hive. Is it too late to split if I feed? Hate to kill the queen. Oh, I see what you mean. I know. So you thought you were queenless. You bought a queen, got the queen, but when you got the purchase queen, you realized you didn't need it anymore. I never like splitting hives this late. So in other words, you might lose the hive trying to save one little queen. I mean, nobody wants to see a queen die. I would try to sell the queen to somebody that needs it or give it to somebody who needs a queen in your area. Talk to the bee club or something because your hive has done so well getting ready for winter. Splitting it now just to save the queen kind of doesn't make sense to me. It's a little too risky. Yeah. Hey, Jason, I'm in Utah. How do you know if a hive is ready for winter, or how do you determine when to combine hives? When is the last time of the year you check for queens? Green chair answer, okay. Green chair answer. There we go. I'm wearing this extra shirt, because it's cold today. It's not even going to get into the 70s. I woke up and it was cold. So a little chilly. Now, to answer your question, Jason, how do you determine when to combine hives? That is a very good question. It's part of being an experienced beekeeper many years. I really do think so. I think after you've been a beekeeper a long time, you've gained a lot of experience. Like book knowledge, I love book knowledge. Scientific information, I love scientific information. But a lot of the book learning won't help you. You got to be able to open up a hive and go, whoop, this one ain't going to make it to winter. And that comes by experience of observation. So the more observation you have, the more data that you've been able to accumulate by inspecting hives and knowing what you see, what the outcome was, that gives you the data to know by observing your bees. So without me observing that hive, I can't really tell you whether it can make it on its own or combine it. If I came to Utah, which that's not, you're not going to pay me to come look at a hive. Even my expenses would be way too expensive to look at one hive. But I'm saying even if I was there, I could make that decision. I could do an inspection and tell you right away. Oh, well, and what I would use was, I would use data like how many bees are there. I would want at least 10 to 12 solid frames population of bees. How much brood is there? I want 4 to 6 frames of capped over brood mixed with eggs and larvae. How much resources? I want at least to see 4 or 5 frames with partial, if not complete, capped over honey and bee bread and pollen. And even if I'm going to feed them, and if I have all of those, I know they're going to make it through winter. I don't need to combine them. If they're less than that, that's when we get into, wow, this hive doesn't have much brood, doesn't have much population. They don't have a lot of stored resources. I need to combine them. So it's really hard to give a particular recipe, like numbers. A lot of it is hinged upon a lot of circumstances. So it's really hard to say. Ben, you referred to the needles swinging in favor of solid bottom boards in winter. This is based on the research in the recent bee culture issue about apparent increase in mite levels with screen bottom board. No, it's not based on that. I think it's based on a lot of information over the years that I've just been observing and looking into. And so just because the needle's bending a little bit more toward one doesn't mean that it's bad. I'm not saying that, oh, screen bottom boards are out, they're terrible. I do prefer them, especially in the summertime. And I go through the winter with a lot of screen bottom boards. So I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I am. But I think the needle's bending that way just because some people feel really uneasy about going through the winter with the screen bottom board on their hive. And I've talked a lot about ways that you should partially block off your screen bottom board, but not all the way. Okay, Ben. Oh, I already talked to Ben. Jonathan. In Southwest Michigan, there are a lot of beaks who leave their entrance and bottom boards open. That was part of the last question. Let's see. We will be studying the theory of the resource production and forecasted winter climates as discussed here 2 weeks ago. Okay. I don't really see that's the question, but yeah, thank you for your donation. I appreciate that, Jason or Jonathan. And I'm interested too. It looks like you're going to be studying the entrance and the bottom board being open and the theory of the resource production with winter climates and also, Jonathan, keep us posted on your research. I'd like to know. Brian, thank you for your donation. Most mite treatment instructions that I've dealt with don't state if you can feed or not while treating. If the instructions don't say one way or the other, would you feed if it's appropriate? Okay, so some treatments of mites do state, whether you should feed them while you're treating them. And you're right, some don't say anything. And that's why I'm real reluctant to give a lot of information out beyond what's on the label. I think beekeepers should always contact the company. Look, these companies, they're taking your money. You're paying big time for treatments, right? Hey, here's a good example. I recently bought, and you've seen in my videos, I bought Viroxan. It's more or less cardboard embedded strips of salicylic acid, you know. And I paid, counting shipping, $112. Gosh, now I don't remember how many strips I bought. But anyway, I think enough to do 15 hives. 4 in a hive, must have got 60 strips, I guess. But anyway, I paid $112. You better believe that if I have a question, I'm not going to go on Facebook, a Facebook group, and ask somebody this for the answer. I'm not going to go on YouTube and try to find out the answer. Where am I going? I'm going to the company that made them because I gave them $112 and I feel like they ought to help me out. That's me. So, and they made the stuff. So I'm going to go on their website and I'm going to look at their frequently asked questions to see if I can feed them. If it doesn't say that I can, I won't. Simple as that. You know, why? I just won't. Because I don't know the effect of that. So that's kind of, you're kind of right. You know, if it doesn't say that I can or cannot, I'm not going to feed it. If it says I can, I'll feed them if I need to. All right. Here's another question. Here in North Colorado, prepping hives for winter. I went through yesterday and one hive is queenless, 0 brood or eggs. Yikes. But at least a few thousand bees. I'm pretty sure I lost her in a mite treatment a few weeks ago. The next week to 10 days are going to be warm to hot here. Do I attempt to put in a queen as there are no queen cells, or do I combine the bees with another hive? If I combine with newspaper trick, how do the bees in the bottom deep get to the honey stores that are in the top deep, or the food in the top feeders? Okay, good question there. I'll tell you how this goes down. It sounds like your bees are too weak. I think you said only a few thousand. You're going to be better to combine that hive with a stronger colony. So put this weak hive on top, newspaper between them, a couple of slits in the newspaper. That's how we combine them. And here's the deal on your question about how do the bottom bees get up through the newspaper. That newspaper is going to be gone, completely gone, in less than 24 hours. It's just a temporary little barrier to help your bees get acquainted. So it's going to be gone in 5 hours. Your bees will be going up and out. You go through there in 5 hours. But in 24 hours, it's going to be totally gone. The bees can carry it out of the hive. So you don't have to worry about that at all. But yeah, it sounds like to me that you definitely need to combine that hive. It's just too weak. Hey, I want to tell you guys something else. If you notice, there's a lot of activity that goes on in the comments of my YouTube video. If you've never watched that, it's amazing, right? I try to answer some. I can't get to all. I do, believe it or not. I know some of you may think this is all I do with my life is make videos and answer questions, but I do have a pretty full life. I have 13 grandchildren. I have a lot of other hobbies and sports I'm involved in. So my time is limited on how many questions I can answer. I try to do as best I can, but listen to this. Sometimes I will give, you know, in YouTube, you can give a thumbs up. If somebody asks a question, I like the question, I'll give a thumbs up. You can give a thumbs up, and I can click on the heart. And that heart means I love your comment. I don't do it very often. And when I click on the heart, that means I love your comment. And I've got a comment here, I clicked on the heart. And it's kind of like a Paul Hollywood handshake. You ever watch the Baker show that Paul Hollywood does? And, you know, if you really cook your food really cool and he likes it, he loves it, he'll give you a Paul Hollywood handshake. Well, if you ever get a David Burns heart on your comment, I really liked your comment. I don't give those out very much, but I gave one to this one. Listen to this. I think her name's Pam. Beekeeping has taught me to rely on my decisions. I may research, ask experts, but the decision is mine. I must take responsibility for it. I love that. Oh my gosh, I love it. I think that's how you ought to keep bees, friends. Yeah, do your research, ask some experts, and then come up with your own decision. That's powerful right there. I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's powerful. Well, listen, this the live stream is doing so good. I've been on the live stream. It'll be 2 years this winter.
And I love the live stream so much. It's me having fun with a big community of beekeepers. Our live stream is really growing. And so check my live stream out every Thursday night, 7 p.m. I'd love for you guys to be there to talk directly with me. I've got a great team that handles the live stream, all the buttons that need to be pushed. Jessica, Sherry, Robbie, thank you guys. I want to thank my videographer, Pat. He's always on our live stream too. He comes out and he's the cameraman to all my videos now. So I've got a great team of people to help me make my videos. I am still looking for a video editor. I'd love to have somebody that's very experienced in beekeeping that really does know Final Cut Pro really well, that can help me edit videos. I can make more videos faster, and looking still for an editor. That's great. And anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching today. And I've just got a video that I think you're going to really enjoy, going into a hive and learning how to work hives in the fall so you don't get robbing started. So check that video out right here. I'll see you guys over there.